So, one of my favorite things to do in JavaScript is currying, which can be really easily overdone, but is also really cool in specific instances. So basically, currying is a function or a method that will return another function. Okay? So this is really useful for servers and middleware functions that you want the function to change based on the state of the server or something like that. Um, it's good for, say you have something animating and you want it to return the stop function or something like that. What else? There are loads of instances where you can have currying. However, it can become very it's very easy to make it bad and just overdo it, because then you have functions that return functions that return functions that return functions, and really you could do that using parameters instead of a bunch of functions, using a bunch of parameters. So like you need to know like when is a good instance for you to do this. And you'll this is just a it's really cool. So let's go into currying. Please don't say we're just skipping right over. Oh my gosh. We're not learning how to use currying. We just read about it. Are you kidding me? Seriously. What? Okay. That's annoying. So let me demonstrate some currying for you. So I'm going to go into temp ls make dir codecademy lesson cd codecademy code dot. All right, and I'm just going to do touch index.js. Okay, so now I have an index.js file. All right, and I'm just going to do a really quick npm init. Great. So now I can pull in things. So say I have something that I want to run on a loop, okay? And you've learned about set interval now, okay? So I want to say const make loop equals that, okay? And I want to have a function, and it can be I'm not doing TypeScript right now. Whoops. Okay. So now I want to say let do run, and I'm going to make it true. Okay? And then now I'm going to do a set timeout, or set interval, sorry. And then 1000. Okay? Actually I'm going to do 1000 or time. No, time or milliseconds. Okay, and I'll just pass in milliseconds here. Okay. So, if no, it'd be better with set timeout. And then const run equals this. Set timeout run milliseconds. Great. If do run, if not do run return. Okay, and then return a function of do run equals false. Okay, so the logic here is that I have created a loop, and it'd also be good to analyze the time in the function. Oh wait, I forgot to do the function. Const start equals date.now function, and maybe this is asynchronous, so I'm gonna await the function. Make sure now this is async, and then const duration equals start minus or date.now minus start. Okay, so now this duration is something, and I'm just gonna ms minus duration. So this will be adaptive to the length of the function. If the function lasts 5 seconds and your loop is 20 seconds, it's going to, the start of each function is always going to be 20 seconds. That's kind of the logic there. That's the idea. Okay. So so now I'm going to make loop. Okay. And then it doesn't run. So I'm going to just run. Make sure to initialize the loop. Okay. So now make loop, and it's going to be a little function that console.log test, and it's going to run every 1,000 seconds or 1,000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. Okay. And I'm going to say node index.js. Okay. Now it runs every 10 seconds or once every second. Great. Now I'm going to make another set timeout. And I want it to do something. Console.log second timeout. Just so you can see what's going on. And I'm going to do this after 5 seconds. Okay? I'm going to run that. 2, 3, 4, 5. And now it should do both. Great. Yeah, so you can see second timeout exists. Okay. Notice how I have 5 and then you see the second timeout. This is because I run the passed in function first. That way it will always run at the very start. So notice how it immediately runs test. It doesn't wait for a second and then runs test. It immediately runs it. So now, as you can see, this make loop function returns a function that I set do run equal to false. Okay, so I can say const stop equals that. And notice now stop is a function. So now I can do stop. And so in theory, this should run 5 times. 3, 4, 5, and then we'll just stop. Yep. Or 6 times. Yeah, I forgot about the initial one. That's right. So this is a use case of currying. Okay, so this is a function that does something and then it returns a function. You can also have a function return a change the state of the internal function that you want to run. My favorite use case is one of my own personal functions, cd templates master code dot. So this is a repository of mine, shared clock. Here we are. Here's that attempt thing, the error handling thing. And I just run this everywhere. And there's even more stuff onto it, like parsing JSONs and stuff. Anyway, that's all kind of cool. All right. So I have created a date string object or date string function, which returns another function that changes the state based on the initial state. Okay. So the idea here is for me to create functions that I can format a date differently. Okay. So I have this date string and I want it to be in the format of hour, minute, AM, PM. Okay. And so now I return a function that based on the initial formatting string, it will change. I have to pass in a date object or I don't pass in anything. And it will automatically change the string, or it'll replace parts of the string with the respective things. So if I pass in MMM, it'll return the actual month, or return probably a month short. Yeah, month short. It'll return one of these guys. Okay. If I pass in MMMM, or maybe just month, it'll pass in it'll return the full month thing. So I can create a bunch of these small functions where I can use throughout the whole structure by just creating it once. So now all of my time is going to be formatted the same way. Okay. This is a good use case of currying, where you change some sort of input, some sort of function state based on another input. Okay, and then you can reuse this function over and over and over again. And say you don't like it and you want to change it to be something else. And now you go, boink, now it's that, right? Although I don't want that in this case. Another case would be like middleware functions. So I have this like spam detection thing or data type. This is actually a really bad function that I want to restructure at some point. But basically, this validates data coming in to ensure that it is a valid data type. Okay, and so or it is the expected data type. Okay, and so I pass in the data, and all I do is I pass in the data structure that I want it to be, and it will return a middleware function that runs through a test to make sure that it is valid data. And if it isn't, it'll send a status of invalid data. Okay. So those are several use cases of the what's it called? Of currying. And I'm going to keep this because we just read about it and don't actually do it. So, currying. It's pretty awesome. I absolutely love it. This is garbage. This is absolutely garbage. I think these could just be parameter. Why don't you just make Yeah, I think this is a bad way to use currying, personally. That's just bad. Partially because like look at those function names. Those are massive. That's ridiculous. Just ridiculous. All right. So, currying. It's very useful, very easily overdone, and done poorly like this. Sorry, Codecademy. I think that's bad code.